Okay, well in this lesson we practiced solving for variables in our algebraic equations, and so now we're going to move forward and work on some word problems that relate to solving for different variables in an algebraic expression. In the number 22, this perimeter problem up here, they ask you to find the dimensions for that rectangle. So finding the dimensions means we need to find the length and what it equals, and they actually wanted a number for the width as well. They asked us to find the dimensions. They didn't say find an expression for it. It means if they say find the dimensions, that means they actually want a value that is usable. So we know perimeter of a rectangle like this is going to equal 2 times the length, and then we're going to add to that 2 times the width. Okay, so we're just going around that rectangle. If I fill in using those expressions, the expression that they gave us for length in this particular rectangle is 2x plus 3. The expression they used for the width is 2x minus 4. And if you have those flipped around, it doesn't actually matter because you're multiplying both by the number 2. One of the skills that we practiced in this lesson was order of operation. So that's our PEMDAS. Oh, not exactly like that. Looks like this, okay? And so here we're going to take care of the parentheses first. We can't do anything inside the parentheses, but we can distribute. So we're going to distribute that 2. And then we're going to come over here and do the same thing to this expression over here. And then we'll just combine like terms. We have 2 terms that have an x in them, so we'll get 8x for that. And then we've got 2 constants, 8x minus 2. So there's our expression that we can use to finish off the rest of this. Now, we wouldn't be able to come up with an actual number for x unless if they hadn't given us that 78 feet for the perimeter. But they told us that p is 78 in this particular problem, so we can fill that in, and that leaves us with just the variable of x. And then we can isolate and solve for x. Divide through by 8, and we will get an x of 10. So sometimes you might forget and leave that as your answer, but that's not the answer. They didn't say solve for x. They said find the dimensions for this particular rectangle. So then we need to go back up here and fill in 10 for x here, and that'll give us 23. And then fill in 10 for x here, and that will give us 16. Now there aren't, oh yeah, there are units. I didn't see the units there for a moment. But we know that the labels on there are important if they've given us units. Sometimes they don't give you units, and then there's no label that you can put on there, but when they give you a unit, make sure that you add that in. On 23, you have a movie ticket that costs $6.50. You have $35 to buy tickets and popcorn for 4 people. And what they want to know is how much money is left to buy popcorn after the tickets are paid for. This one, again, not super complicated, but that's good because we can use that to help facilitate understanding unit rate again. You need to buy 4 tickets, and you know without any effort that you're going to need to take those 4 tickets and multiply by 650 to get an answer for how much it's going to cost you. All right, I'm going to drop the 0 just for making it a little bit easier to deal with those numbers right now. It's a unit rate because it's $6.50 for every ticket, so for 1 ticket. And so this is why we multiply. This label cancels out with this label. Remember, I can put anything over 1 and make it a fraction, and so those labels cancel out. You end up with dollars as your label left over, which is what we want, and if you did the multiplication, you get $26. And then you can very simply say $35 minus that $26 is going to leave you with $9 for popcorn, which is what they asked you for. So make sure you actually answer the question. Okay, number 24, you need to earn $475 per week to afford the new car that you want to purchase. So that's your goal, $475 a week. Your work week is 45 hours. So you have 45 hours to work each week, and you need $475 each week in order to make your goal. You get 1.5 times the regular hourly rate for overtime. So that's anything over 40 hours. So if you're working 45 hours, as stated here, then you're going to get 40 hours of regular pay, and you'll get 5 hours of overtime pay, which is 1.5 times the regular pay. Okay, and so what we're going to need to figure out is how much your hourly rate needs to be. So the reason for that is so you can decide if the job you're offered is going to pay you enough per hour to meet your goal of $475 per week so you can buy the new car. So we're going to let X equal what we're looking for here. We're going to let that variable equal the hourly rate that we need. And that just means your pay per hour. Okay, hourly rate means pay per hour, or how many dollars you're going to get each hour that you work. And so we'll let X equal that. And we know you need to make $475. So we're going to set $475 equal to an expression that's going to show what you need to earn. And so if we're going to work 40 hours at regular pay, okay, that's this X, that's your hourly pay. Maybe I should clarify there. The X is the regular pay that you're receiving. So when you sign up for this new job, what regular hourly pay, not overtime, are they going to give you? Okay, and so we're going to do all of this in terms of that. So $475 is going to equal 40 hours times whatever that hourly rate is, and then we're going to add to that, though, the 5 hours of overtime pay you're going to get. So you're going to work 5 hours, and they told you in the problem right here that you're going to make 1.5 times the regular hourly rate. Well, we know times, means we're going to multiply, and we know the regular hourly rate is our variable X. So we're going to say 1.5 times that regular hourly rate X that we set equal to X, because we don't know it yet. That's what we're trying to figure out. So if you add your regular hours pay times your overtime pay, you're hoping to get $475. So in this case, what does X have to be? What does your hourly rate have to be to make this job be a good fit for you? If I multiply that, distribute that 5 to the 1.5, I'm going to get 7.5x. And we'll end up with 47.5x. And so when I divide 475 by 47.5, I'm going to get an X of $10. And this is per hour. This is your hourly rate. So the only way this job is going to work out for you to help you meet the goal is if you find a job that's going to pay you $10 for your regular hourly hours that you're going to work, and then you get 1.5 times that when you work overtime, or rather $15 per hour for those overtime hours. Okay, the next one is a little bit easier than 24. You have a bill for automobile repairs, which comes to $265.74. So this is how much that you owe the repairman after he's worked on your car. The cost for the labor was $52 per hour. And then the cost for the materials is $135.74. And what they want you to find out is how many hours did the mechanic work on your automobile. So this is where we need to come up with a variable. Okay, because we need the variable that will stand for how many hours the mechanic worked. H is the most obvious, so that's what I'm going to use, just H for hours. So the number of hours worked. All right, the $135.74 is a fixed cost. That's how many materials had to be purchased in order for him to even do the labor in the first place. So the total bill is $265.74. And that is going to equal the way they came up with that number is to take the cost of the materials and add to that the number of hours that the mechanic worked times 52. Every hour he worked, he got paid $52. So here's your function, or your equation for this particular scenario. And then from here, you're just going to solve for h. This will just use those basic skills that we practiced on the front of this worksheet, and you should hopefully remember from Algebra 1. All right, and then when we divide through by 52, we will get 2.5 hours. So the mechanic worked 2.5 hours and got paid $52 per hour, and then the cost of the materials added to that gave the total bill of $265.74. Okay, and the last one on this page is another average problem. They are making it a little more challenging because they're not actually explicitly telling you your total miles. They're saying that on Friday you drove 145 miles to stay at your grandmother's house, and then on Sunday you returned home, and you calculated that the round trip meaning there and back, travel time was 5 hours. They want to know what your average speed was. So average is the total number of miles over the number, in this case hours, that it took you to get there. Okay, so miles per hour is the unit for average speed. What you have to remember is that you drove to grandma's, and that took 145, or that was a 145 mile trip, and you returned back another 145 miles. So you need to add those two together to get 290 miles total, and then the entire trip, the round trip, took you 5 hours. So you need to make sure that you double those miles on the top. They didn't ask you what your average speed was on the way there. They want it for the entire trip. And then when you do the division, you will get miles per hour as a label, and that it's 58 miles per hour.